Okay, everyone, so it's been 1 week now with this 2025 Volvo EX30 and the most decked out trim you can get with the ultimate twin motor performance style model here. So we have 422 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque. This thing is wild on the performance-wise side of this. As a overall vehicle, if you've seen our full tour and review, it has a lot of quirks, I would say, and there's a lot of things that I'm going to get out of the way first so I can just kind of talk about the things I do like about the vehicle. So coming to a stop here, one thing I have an issue with in this car is the one pedal driving function. So there's really one toggle here. So we have one pedal drive on or off. It's right here on the screen. You can also make it be this button right here. It doesn't work. It's not a good one pedal drive system. It's not predictable, I would say. A lot of one pedal drive systems, you have a prediction of kind of when you can come to a full stop confidently, you get used to it. This does different things in different scenarios, actually. So that's something weird I did notice over the course of this week of testing. On the highway, it might be a little bit more intense of a regen. In other cases, it just feels like I'm just coasting, and there's no adjustment for the regen in the vehicle whatsoever. And I personally don't think that's good for a full EV product. I'm a little bit surprised by that choice here. We could see that change with a software update though. Otherwise, the brake pedal is actually really good. I doesn't feel like, you know, it's weird. I feel like the blending between the brake and the regen is actually pretty good in this vehicle. But the one pedal drive function in itself, I just don't think works. I find myself having to brake at every single stopping situation I'm going to, which is a little bit frustrating for me. In a full EV, I really like to experience that one pedal driving style. Other than that, I think the vehicle is generally pretty good with its driving dynamics. Steering is very Volvo-esque in the sense of it's very light and there's not a lot of feel, though I have to say in terms of, you know, responsiveness, this is actually probably the best Volvo I've ever had. You have 3 adjustments in your infotainment screen. It just takes 3 or 4 taps to actually get to that adjustment, so you cannot do that on the fly whatsoever. But as you can see here, the one pedal drive doesn't really stop much. I do have to actually put my foot on the brake, even if with it's on or off. And there is, even with the one pedal driving off, there is actually still some regenerative braking happening, which is pretty interesting, I would say. Around town, this is just a wonderful car, I would say. The suspension is fantastic. This car is so quiet on here. That's just getting out of the things that I don't really like about the car. I think needs some work. Right into the stuff we like here. I think it's just a great city car in that aspect. It's perfect in terms of its size. The maneuverability is just wonderful. Parking it is so easy, and on top of that, you have a parking assistant now in this particular one, so it'll, you know, pull you into a spot, which is really nice. Really fantastic camera systems in the vehicle, I would say, as well. They're really crystal clear. We have a 3D view as well. Parking sensors are a little iffy. I would say there's a really big delay when getting close to something and when, you know, you see it on the screen, or those cameras are going to come on or off or not. So that's something to look out for in the vehicle, I would say. But what really always gets you in this car is the truly wild acceleration that this thing can provide. Just going up a hill here, just floor it, and you're up to speed already really instantly, which is really nice. My one other small thing about this vehicle, it's a little funky, other than all the crazy interior quirks that you can definitely go check out in the full touring review. There's no shade for this sunroof. I haven't found it to be the hottest thing whatsoever. I've experienced some more ones in EVs that are a little bit warmer that don't have a shade, but you know, you may want to go with some sort of metal roof option there, because no shade can be a little bit of a deal breaker for some people in some warmer climates. But overall, like I was saying, the suspension in this car, it's so quiet in here. The suspension is fantastic for a small EV. It's also a premium EV as well. It totally nails it with the suspension. It soaks up bumps. It doesn't crash at all, like I've even experienced in some of the gas Volvos as well. So they did a good job here on the suspension front, and that helps to keep the body roll in check. And it's already a small vehicle, and for an EV, it's pretty light, around 42-ish hundred pounds, I would say. So for a handling Volvo, this is probably one of the best I've actually experienced. But there's just a lot of things that it took me so long to get used to just in this 1 week, I could totally see other people getting having to take a little bit more time, even more so, to get used to things like not having a screen up here. And you know, there's a lot of vehicles that don't have a screen anymore, but this screen is just so tiny, and all the font is really small and things are really far away, and how the orientation of it, I could totally see this being either a deal breaker or a huge learning curve for some people with this all new EX30. So I really would consider that when looking at this vehicle. Again, I did get used to it. I don't necessarily like it, but you know, it's something you can get used to. I just love the handling and driving experience of this car so much. I genuinely do forget about this aspect of the EX30 sometimes, because it is a really fun vehicle to drive around. Great visibility. I love these huge side mirrors here. I like the steering wheel. I mentioned that itself. Some things are a little funky, you know, the cup holders. You have to push in and out, and you can kind of open this in a space there. I've had some issues connecting my phone here and there, but that happened once or twice and it never happened again, so that's nice to see. There is a performance all-wheel drive mode as well. You just got to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 settings to get that, and this reduces the throttle kind of softening. So in regular driving experience, throttle is softened. This, it just launches, will spin the tires, it just goes, and 0 to 60 happens in around 3.5 seconds in this tiny little Volvo of all things, which is really crazy. So if you want to use that, you can do that. It prioritizes performance versus efficiency. So if you want more efficient driving experience, you might want to turn that off completely. But that's the one thing, the conclusion I think I can come to with this vehicle over the course of this week of testing, is that it is a great driving vehicle. The powertrain, the battery, all that stuff is pretty much perfect, I would say, in my opinion, other than the one pedal drive being a little funky. The rest of all the little quirks and stuff in here is really all up to this interior being just different. Volvo really rethought how interiors work in vehicles today, with their repositioning of all the controls, moving a lot of stuff to the screen over here. It's a lot to get used to. So definitely look at this car. I would definitely still consider it. I think it's really cool. It could be like a nice upgrade from like a BMW i3, for example, or a good competitor to like the Mini Countryman SE full electric vehicle. There is competition in this space, and hopefully Volvo can get the price down just a little bit once production moves over to Europe from China. But this is definitely a long time coming. I've been waiting to experience this vehicle almost like 2 years now, and I still like it. It's really cool, but it is small and there are a lot of quirks. So take that into consideration when you're looking at a Volvo EX30. And as always, guys, thank you for joining me on yet another review over at Allcarnews. Cheers. Now, out here on the highway, we do have Volvo's Pilot Assist system as well on this particular EX30 trim we have here, and it works just as good as in other Volvos. Activating it though is pretty interesting. So unlike on other Volvos, instead of using your steering wheel controls, you actually use your gear selector here. So in very similar fashion to what you would find in a Tesla, you pull, where you particularly use drive, down one more time, and that actually activates your Pilot Assist function. You just pull it down again to deactivate it. That is definitely something that's a little bit different for Volvo customers. If you're used to how you activate Pilot Assist, this is a totally different way now of doing so. So that's pretty interesting. And if you want to adjust your following distance between the vehicle from you and behind you, you are going to actually have to go into the infotainment system and change that there, which is a little bit frustrating, I think, to me. Now, activating it is pretty easy. Like I mentioned, you just press it down once and voila, you're on. Now, here are some interesting differences here. So you could actually change it from steering assisted mode, which we are in right now, where we have full lane keep, centering, and steering assist, but you do always have to have your hands on the wheel. You put your finger on this little steering wheel icon here, tap that once, and now it's just regular radar adaptive cruise control. You can see that confirmed up in your little display up there. Tap it again and you're right back on. Now, a weird thing that I have noticed on this car that I'm not too sure why they did this is that when you want to increase your speed, for example, pressing it once increases it by an increment of 5 in either direction. So I have it set to 75 right now. I'm going to set it back down to, let's say, 60, so I can do that 2 or 3 times. Now, if you want to change the speed individually, you actually hold it. So I'm going to increase now, hold plus button, and it's going to 1, 2, 3, and it does it like that. I have not seen that actually on other vehicles. Typically what you would do is individual presses change it by 1, a hold down press would change it by increments of 5. I'm not too sure how I feel about that. I feel like on a more normal basis you would want to increase the speed by 1, which is interesting. So that's, again, something you may want to get used to there. And you also have this display up here, if you're not sure if you can see this on camera, showing us our lane. It has like a green indication on right now that we are in the lane for our pilot assist function here. We can get rid of that. So if I have my multi-function screen button right here set to change the screen, I can just center, there we go, double press there. It centers the speed in the center there and gets rid of that display if you find it too distracting, or you can open it back up like I have it, which I actually kind of like it like that because it makes the speed closer to the left side of this middle screen. You can also, like I mentioned, configure this button to adjust the one pedal drive functionality, but I don't really change it that much, so I just have it left in this quick access button panel over here, which I think is where it's fine living. But yeah, this is how you use the pilot assist system in the EX90. Nothing crazy like you know, a Tesla full self-driving or Super Cruise or anything like that. It's just a good old reliable Volvo's pilot assist system, and it works great. It's trustworthy, I'm confident, and I like it. So yeah, that's what you're going to get out here on the highway in the EX30. And again, even on the highway here, it's just so quiet. Going over bumps, again, it's a small wheelbase, it's a small vehicle. The whole vehicle you may feel some more movements than in a longer, larger EV, but they're all very, very well damped. It's very, very quiet in here still at the end of the day. And there's no wind buffeting. Maybe a little bit of road noise from these 19-inch wheels and tires, maybe a little bit under the cabin, but it's just kept to such a minimum that it's really not a bother whatsoever in this vehicle as a driver. And as always, guys, thank you for joining me on yet another review over at Allcarnews.